Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans. Don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's weekend frivolities, the Broiler Chicken Show. I got a few people in the audience, a few people in the Zoom call here today. So who knows how many people I'm going to speak to. But as always, my job here, try and make a positive difference in your people's lives. How the heck I'm going to do that? I'm not quite sure, but that's the aim. Yeah. Should be an adventure. And as always, when I do these videos for the Monday to Friday, I always start off going, I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. And then 2 hours later, it's like he's still talking. So who knows what the hell we get to here today. Interesting view from the breadth indicator TRI has running here. Actually does look like we're getting a little bit washed out on yield crypto. So I suppose that's a good sign for some of the people in this audience. It does feel as though it was almost like, keep in mind, we just had the big monthly options expiry event, third Friday of the month. And I do see that they like to push the markets around into these expiries. And ironically enough, actually, most of the institutional players do most of their business through options market these days because they don't have to report to the SEC when they do stuff. So it's a bit cheeky how our society is modeled here right now. There's like rules for Joe Sixpack, and then there's rules for all those other people, Anyway. So I do think that was actually a pretty big pivot event there on Friday. And usually what they do is they dump the market or rally it like crazy, in this case, dump the day prior to the options expiry. So then people wake up, they get notices from their brokers. Oh, you have an option that's expiring today. And they look at the price chart and they go, God damn it. If I had just known about this yesterday, I would have done great. But nope, now I'm screwed. So it's so cliche. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable how cliche this game is. And month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. I mean, it just goes on ad nauseum. What's interesting about this expiry too was the heaviest open interest on the puts was at 660 on the SPYs. And man, I love this stock right in here. Oh my goodness, that looks so beautiful. So there are actually names I'm interested in buying, but I actually do like the idea of shorting a lot more of the market than buying the market. But wow, there are some really cool names down here that I want to get long. Probably going to do this through put rights, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to mention to you. What I wanted to mention was this image. So the heaviest open interest there on that November series going out on Friday on these SPYs was the 660s. So it was interesting how they tried like the dickens to get this thing up above that level. And then by the close, at best, they could get it at 659 and change. So those 660s did expire in the money. That means the people who bought them, they have the right to sell the market here at this 660 level. And it will be auto exercised by the CBOE. Which means that the market makers who wrote all those options, keep in mind, institutions write about 90% of the puts, they will be forced to buy this market, which in a weird sort of way actually leads me to believe that we probably could work our way up a little bit higher here over the coming week. just to sort of release those trapped market makers, which I'm sure they would rather not have to carry those bags. I'm sure there wasn't a hell of a lot of parties in the Hamptons this weekend. Mind you, a lot of November options did expire worthless, but there was a big chunk of them here at this 660. So I would imagine not the best weekend up in Martha's Vineyard, but nonetheless. And I also was watching various different social media ranters kind of talking about how, and you can see there is Thursday. And then, of course, you can imagine everybody and their brother first thing Friday morning was just like, oh, get me out of here. And that was a trap. That's usually what happens on the Fridays. But this is a pretty significant candle in itself. That is a bearish outside downside key reversal. And interesting too how this was on the whole Nvidia con job. And ironically enough, in 2000, Cisco Systems, Nortel Networks, you've heard me talk about that nutso company. All of these companies were forward stuffing their earnings pipelines to report knock the cover off the ball earnings numbers to keep the stocks heading higher. And somebody on social media had pointed out, hey, Nvidia is doing the same thing that Cisco and Nortel did in 2000. And like, whoa, the stock, the whole bubble just popped instantly on Nvidia. That was beautiful to watch. I love seeing that kind of stuff. So they've done some technical damage. And the interesting thing is that this bearish outside downside key reversal engulfing bar, whatever hell you want to call it, it confirms if we actually trade one tick below that engulfing bar's low. Was there some shenanigans around the options expiry being Friday there? Maybe a little, let's just push her over the edge and get all those technicians to start freaking out. And then we'll start bringing the market back. Maybe. But the interesting thing, though, is that this bearish engulfing bar, it came on the heels of a really nasty. Who should we pick today? Is that Taco smiling at us? Is that Joey Diamond? Is that Mr. I'm doing God's work? Somebody made reference to Goldman Sachs crook. Making that statement. But it's fascinating how in the face of this big fat smile sell signal right here, Nvidia come to the rescue, it'll save the market. No, fuck you. Down we go. Excuse my French. That's the trader talking. And I can imagine a lot of people who bought that euphoria on that Nvidia event are feeling like swearing right now. I'm sure they're not happy at all. Also interesting too about this chart, which kind of leads me to believe that we'll probably have a dead cat bounce kind of idea, is notice how well pronounced this range is. And notice our big honking red candle here. Is history maybe going to repeat itself? It almost feels like, well, maybe this needs to happen now kind of idea. And then we carve out just a massive head and shoulders here. Also, too, interesting how we have trendline apex right around Christmas. And generally speaking, they don't really like to sell the market off into the end of the year. Although, given who's running the United States of America right now and what a shit show he's turned this whole fucking world into. How's Eric Trump doing on his ETH? Nice call there, buddy. We might have a really shitty Christmas here. It wouldn't surprise me. Having said that, I wouldn't be surprised, especially we have a couple, that are generally market friendly kind of events, Black Fridays and Cyber Mondays and all that kind of crap. Although I actually don't feel as much of that sort of euphoria around all of that narrative as I have in the past. And I actually think that Joe Sixpack Public is like basically broke right now. The capitalists, the 1%, all that, they're living a great life right now. But Joe Sixpack, I think, is dying 1,000 deaths here. So, this is kind of what my expectation into the end of the year is going to be. What's interesting though is if we circle back and, keep in mind we just got a big punch in the nose candle there. You can see where moving average resistance is. So, you could argue down here, we're kind of in open air down here. We don't really run into any serious resistance until we get back up into these wicks. And the people, of course, who bought that NVIDIA pump, they'll desperately want to get the hell out of there. So I actually think that major resistance is up in there and, right against trendline resistance. Probably we could also do a fib off of this. God, I was listening to some social media and these guys have like 30, 40,000 views of their videos. And they're like, it drives you nuts. The guy's like calling this, well, this is the inverted wick. And I even posted on his video, I said, that's called a tail. It's not called a wick. Stop it. I don't know where these people learn this stuff. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. You can see where, in fact, actually, this is a not bad example. It's close. If we had closed below here, I would have thought it was a slam dunk. But you can kind of see that ICT guy kind of market structure shift kind of idea. I don't necessarily, I mean, I do like the idea that this is probably some sort of traffic zone here. Maybe we bang around for a bit down in here and then start to climb the wall of worry or whatever. I generally like when I do see that market structure shift kind of signal, I just like laser beam focus on Mountain Man. And then our conversations about these trap bulls up here, trend line resistance. There is this cheeky gap up here. So actually don't be surprised if we actually have some sort of crazy ass candle. I'll just sort of, kind of eyeball this. I would not be surprised if we have some sort of crazy ass wick candle that goes all the way up into something like that. That would not surprise me, but that gap right up there could use a little bit of attention. I don't know what this is going to look like, but my hunch is that in the near term, especially since they brought it back against a bunch of support lines here, I wouldn't be surprised if we have to do some backfilling here. That's what it kind of feels like. And the only reason why I mention all of this is, of course, when we talk crypto, I think it's basically the same message here. It's actually been quite a slide here, October 29th, all the way down here to Friday, November 21st. That's basically been one directional. So a little bit of backfilling. I think it's a little overdue. Trend wise, though, you all see this. We can't really get bullish again here with moving averages rolling over bearishly. Keep in mind, these I follow these specific moving averages for a reason. So you can see these moving averages, they do a really, really good job at sort of identifying the trend. And we turn back up here. And you notice those moving averages have been positive the whole way up, but uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, they just crossed. And notice, look what happened the last time they crossed. It's obviously no guarantee. Nothing's guaranteed in this business. But I'll tell you, I really like the idea of going and buying some insurance in here and even contemplating actually buying positions that make money and when the market goes down. And if we think about this, there's a couple of versions of me on here. If we think about this from the most simplest terms, I don't know, was there some guy who came into power here, and obviously the broader index doesn't reflect this as well. But if we look at like things that are like big blue chip, big campaign contributors, maybe, I wonder how have they done through this. And that sort of brings me to my market of note here. Before we jump into Bitcoin, I suppose we can chat a little bit about that. Which one's that? Oh, it's over here. I get the distinct impression, although I don't know where I have it. There it is. Some of these industrial names, this is General Electric. post Jack Welch. I suppose none of you even know who Jack is, and how he completely destroyed this basic blue chip entity of the United States society. I mean, it's just disgusting the way these guys manipulate this stuff to their own means. And, this company had to basically, I don't think they declared bankruptcy, but they went into reorganization, rolled back the stock, blah, 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 started over again. But, this proxy GE Aerospace, no, we are not in the financial services industry, Jack, go away. This used to be one of my major pet peeves about capitalism through the late 1990s. Total corrupt story. But anyway, none of you probably are familiar with that. But I mean, keep in mind, look at all these gaps over here. Look at this. This is like you could drive a truck through these damn holes. So at some point, these things need to be filled in. I mean, same thing with the moving averages. You can see, I mean, we had a little bit of a head fake here, but we've got a clean cross here now following a big fat M staring us in the face. And so my question here is it possible? And unfortunately, with the market down the way that it is, the option pricing right now is just not palatable, let's say. But I'm very interested in seeing if I can buy like a January 2027 bear put spread here. The spread, its maximum profit, this particular spread would be $30. So could I go in and grab that spread for like, say, $3 or something, look for a 10-to-1 risk reward? Right now that spread's trading at $10. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. So I would actually like to see a nice counter trend rally back into trend line resistance, back into the moving averages. And I'm going to be hunting with a bowl and spoon. And the irony of it all, everything that I teach all my students and stuff, if I really wanted to buy this stock, I should just throw my stink bids in down at these gaps, 78.6, old structural levels, against lows, blah, blah, blah. If I really wanted to be long this stock, I don't even know whether I really want to be long this or not. But think about this in more of like practical terms. Who has been completely fucking with the world global economy here, trying as absolute best as he can to derail the whole shit show. At least from outside the United States of America, that's the perspective that I think everybody in the world has. Would this company do well under orange to pay policies? I think so. Anybody who wants to buy a Boeing jet, of course, guess who makes the jets for Boeing aircrafts? You can go through the whole litany. The point here is, I think this company has done very, very well under tacos and burritos. And I just sit here and I wonder if the pendulum is going to start swinging back the other direction. Would a company like this maybe have to take a bit of a pause as the socialists come storming back into power? I like that thinking. It's not really, how do you say this? I don't give a shit about politics or any of that crap. I mean, you all know. Let's see anybody who's watching on YouTube. How can we tell when these politicians are lying to us? So it doesn't make a difference which one are talking. They're all the same. And this guy Taco, oh my God, this guy. I'm surprised his nose isn't like a foot long. It's ridiculous how he lies so blatantly to people. But what I'm thinking about is, how does a company like this fare if the ultimate lobbyist for corporations and for make America great again and all that kind of talk, if that goes the way of the dodo? Would Airbus maybe come in, steal a little bit of Boeing's business? Did this thing get bid up on the anticipation of a whole bunch of phony baloney contracts and stuff that were signed under duress by companies or countries maybe that were under the gun under Taco's leadership here? Hey, it doesn't surprise me that this chart looks the way that it does, given the past year's insanity. But also, too, given the fact that we know that next November, oh boy, I think the taco party comes to an abrupt end. Maybe we should be starting to think about these kind of companies maybe giving a little bit of this back. That's my perspective. And I'm not really calling for the end of the world. This trade actually tops out, it maxes out once this option, we hit the 50% level, 4669s. As soon as we exceed this, then this option's value should start topping out. There are subtleties with regard to implied volatility, but we won't talk about that today. The point being that if we are trading down here, I've hit a home run on this trade. I'm not looking for a dump down into these lows, but if I actually did want to buy this company, it's down here where I'd want to buy, not way up here. And I see tons of charts like this right across the market. Very, very dangerous market. But the problem here too, though, is banging into 1.618s right now. This is actually a short-term technical objective of this top. So you can't take a trade here. If anything, what I have to see is I have to see a counter trend rally back up against trend line resistance, back into moving average resistance, back into fib levels. Oh, and by the way, here's another pet peeve for technicians. 50% rule is not a fib. I saw another social media guy who just kept saying it over and over and over. And I was like, 50% is WD GAN. Drive you crazy. Anyway, so we're kind of stuck in no man's land here, really, in the near term. I don't know whether I really consider this good buying location. I mean, there is no location to justify buying. And unfortunately, if you short here, geez, we could very easily get, at a $20, $30 rally here out of nowhere. And actually, this is a really good example of a trade that I really, really like, but I still haven't figured out how the fuck I'm going to do it, is the Swiss franc. Because you can see the Swiss franc did exactly the same thing. So this was just a demonstration of, look at that, there's a big honking M in the market. And I think this also plays along the same lines. I think this European currency rally, I still, for the life of me, can't figure out why these European currencies have rallied the way that they are. Who the fuck would be calling me right now? Seems a bit odd. And this is a higher time frame chart, but this trade, and this was just strapping on, hitting that M. This trade had to take a hell of a lot of heat here. So what I would argue is you're probably going to see the same thing out of things like that General Electric. This trade now is actually back in the money. And really, I wouldn't have any expectation that this thing's going to move to new highs. I think that this thing's got a long, long way to go. And the sad part about it is I also think that this plays very well into gold topping out. And, one might argue that if stocks are potentially topping out, like keep in mind, this is an industrial proxy. And actually, I even listened to a guy, he was duding up the XLIs, or the industrial ETF. And that's what actually caught my attention is he goes, oh boy, look how bad those industrials look. And he goes, what's the big component there? Oh, GE. And he pulled up that chart and I went, holy crap. And hence the trade idea. But the problem is I can't short that there, right? I got, like that Swiss franc, I got to get that rally to come up so that the put option premiums can come back down to earth. And I can actually see, I definitely like the idea that this option goes to $30. So the question ultimately is, how much am I going to have to pay to actually make this trade worth my while? 10 to 1 risk reward? That's pretty damn good, eh? This might be a bit greedy. And actually, when I'm done this, and after I'm done with Liam this afternoon, I think what I'm going to try and do is build the spread trade on TradingView itself and see whether working some stink orders on the spread might be a good idea. So I'll be definitely sharing that down the road. But whether it be the Swiss franc, and you can see I have like a short list that I'm actually super. Actually, that's what that was. 26 shorts, kind of like what we did with the Alibaba a year or two ago. And I bought the Intel, and I bought Moderna, and I bought what was the other one? I bought the little Bed Bath and Beyond as my crypto proxy. That actually worked really, really well. Produced better than 30% return for the portfolio. And it was just a simple 4 trade matrix to talk you through. And I kind of like the idea that this is going to be my 4 trade matrix going forward. So this will be my gold proxy. And I also think it's a bullish proxy on the US dollar, and it's a bearish proxy on Europe. This is going to be my bearish proxy on the US industrial sector, and it's also a crony capitalism proxy. And then, of course, you know how much I absolutely love the current situation in my country. I really like the idea of shorting Canada up in here. I did start to build this position. We don't quite have the M's yet, like we actually have in GE. So this might take a little bit longer to play out, although I did get a nice M in there. So, but anyway, I have started to build that spread trade. And I actually really do like just hitting Canada in general, because Canada, I think, is a short. Actually, that's the Canada trade there. And I absolutely love hitting these Canadian banks that I think technically are bankrupt. And I did find it interesting that there is actual official news from the Bank of Canada, Canada, that is, that they've actually started QE already in Canada. Isn't that incredible? They've actually already started it. So the con job bailout for these banks has already begun. The issue here, though, is this should play out exactly the same way the U.S. Real estate market fell apart there in 2008. And of course, a lot of the Canadian or U.S. bank stocks and remember Bear Stearns, AIG, all that. There should be that same reckoning in the Chinese stock market and in the Chinese banking sector. The question ultimately is this the best proxy to short that Chinese bank sector? You can see this one, of course, is mired in fentanyl, drug trafficking, money laundering. I mean, it's shocking how corrupt these Canadian companies are. And really all I'm doing is I'm just coming in and shorting against old highs. But anyway, I think I have a feeling these will be sort of my 4 proxies for the market through 27. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. You can clearly see all these markets are ridiculously overextended over the past couple of years. I think they're all due for a big punch in the nose. So we'll see how it goes. It should be fun to talk you all through that over the coming year or so. And it'll be interesting to see how this all goes. I might be 100% wrong. But, kind of the same logic. That was this proxy. So this guy, same logic. This guy was down on his knees. And I was like, well, let's go take a long shot. This guy, of course, you couldn't give this stock away when we were down here. I mean, you literally couldn't give it away. It seemed to have done pretty well. And of course, get your shit together. I don't know whether you guys remember that conversation over the years. But just even this rally here, although you can't even really see it, it's so small. I did produce a nice winning trade for us here on that option trade. So the only dog that I had was I picked the wrong fucking pharma stock. I mean, what pisses you, it turns out this trade was a loser, which isn't bad. 20, 30% return, a monster 400% return. and 20-30% return and 100% loss. That sucks. But I did want a healthcare name for defensive purposes, and I completely picked the wrong damn healthcare name. I mean, look at what Pfizer has done. Oh, why couldn't I have picked that one? Actually, that doesn't even look that great. But look at Johnson and Johnson. Holy crap. That was the stock, the healthcare stock I was supposed to buy. But anyway, I did want to have a healthcare name on here. I just picked the wrong damn one. And I suppose hindsight's always 2020, isn't it? I mean, this is Fauci. This is all about the jab. And I guess it shouldn't surprise us that this thing just is a piece of shit. I like this stock because I like to buy cheap stuff. And you can see we're right back down against the lows from prior to the sickness. I definitely think this stock has upside potential here. It's not today. It's not this cycle. Anyway, it's the way it goes. It's trader's life. Gotta say, man, these crypto stocks, and I suppose this might be a good segue for us to head into it. Actually, I've heard a lot of talk recently from like options guys I really like that they actually figure this is that MicroStrategy stock. They actually figure that this is the catalyst that's actually going to be the scandal that rocks crypto this particular cycle, which I did find fascinating. This obviously isn't a complete chart, but it does clearly show this guy can't buy a friend right now. Who knows where the hell the bottom on this damn thing is? I was thinking maybe there might have been a bottom somewhere in here. And sorry, Brian, actually, the SOF Club members talked me out of the trade here. So thank you, SOF Club. Appreciate it. They needed to see a little bit more anecdotal evidence, and the options prices really didn't line up for a spread. So we avoided that pitfall. Thank you again, SOF Club members. But I mean, gee whiz, these things just look like a mess. I mean, just an absolute mess. The biggest crypto stock around. I kind of like the idea that this is a bat that's forming here, which does mean that our next leg really probably should come down to this 1.618 and this 886 and fill in all these gaps and stuff. Market never moves in a straight line, so who knows what the hell this is going to look like over the near term. But kind of our talk about the S&Ps, same sort of logic here. You can see where moving average resistance is. So just even on Coinbase here alone, 13 EMA, which usually hugs price very closely. It's sitting right now, 280, and here we are at 240. So like $40 lower than the market. And you can see 200 SMAs sitting there as well. It could very easily see a pretty healthy bounce here. But that's in the context of an absolute train wreck bear market. So that's kind of what I'm seeing around here. It's almost, I used to use the expression, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That kind of feels like the kind of market state that we're in. Of course, when we look at Bitcoin, I think you'll see that too. The only problem is, and this is what I kind of think's going to happen here, and it's just my opinion, so what? Everybody's got an opinion. But I do like the idea that there's some sort of short-term capitulation event somewhere in here. Then we're going to like sort of dead cat bounce our way probably in through first, second quarter of next year. And a lot of, speaking to where was that? I thought I saw somebody make reference to it. Yeah, there you are. Eskimos saying Benner cycle. I do like, I mean, I don't know whether we see, I don't think you're going to see new highs on Coinbase into that 26 cycle peak. Believe it or not, I actually could, especially with the way these silly tech stocks are acting, I could see into new year a move to new highs. It's going to take a lot of sort of work, though. We've got to clean up a lot of damage that's been done on these charts. Actually, that's a bit of an older chart. Where's that? I guess it was on the futures that I showed you. I guess what I'm seeing here, I can't really get bullish again of the stock market till I start seeing structural signals above these trend lines. I mean, you all know how I operate, so that shouldn't be shocking to you. Do I see dead cat bounces here over the course of the next month or so, taking us into the new year? And then once we get into the new year, we'll sort of figure out, okay, what the hell's 2026 going to actually look like? I wouldn't be surprised heading into the spring. I actually like the idea that the stock market should top somewhere in middle to the end of May, sell in May and walk away, all that kind of talk. Also notice too, this 4669 has not been traded to yet. Why? Should. I mean, this is fucking bombs. So I guess what I'm thinking here is probably a bunch of back and forth here into the end of the year. Then they'll sort of paint buy when it snows, sell when it goes. We're in a bull market, everything's fine. And then, and usually the way it works is the stock market is a forward discounting mechanism. So probably about 6 months ahead of that very, very big political event coming down the pike here next November, I think we top, and this could get absolutely crazy through this. If anything, especially given all the rhetoric about Taco pretty much wanting to turn himself into a king. You saw how much traction there was last time he was told to get the fuck out of Washington. You think he's going to go quietly in 2028? I doubt it. I would argue that for his entire agenda, if the Democrats take power back in the US Congress next November, his entire agenda, goodbye. Oh my goodness. Can you believe people are actually shilling cryptocurrencies on this channel? I think you, my friend, have just been excommunicated. Boop. And you're gone. Oh, well, it's the way it goes. One thing I absolutely cannot stand is the way that these very morally suspect humans have basically taken over the internet. We used to worry about scammers from India calling us. Now we've got them fucking on our own shores, scamming us right, left, and center. And I think that the internet has literally been hijacked. I saw one guy who was saying, I make content for YouTube videos, and by time I actually produce it, the bot farms in Pakistan, India, and China have already re-TikToked and re-shorted his videos under all of these made-up bot aliases and taken all of the credit for his content produced. I mean, what a fucked up society this is. I can't believe how it's just completely fallen off the rails. And if anything, I don't mean to be rude, but a good 10, 15 years of the world trying to take back control from these tech oligarchs that are just heading us fucking to hell in a handbasket here. I think actually that would actually be pretty damn good for this human civilization. But this is coming from a guy who used to get price charts in the mail. I think I would prefer to go back to those days. Thank you very much. Much easier to trade against mail charts than this nutso insane computer world that we live in. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of rhetoric for you. And actually interesting too, a stock that I told you that I'm interested in. Jesus, I love the look of that stock. These kind of companies actually do very well during recessions. Why? Because they're all about alcohol and forgetting about your troubles. Yeah, they used to, Nick. I mean, I remember there distinctly. The commodities charts used to come in the mail, and they were like the thickness of tissue paper. So if you made one mistake updating that damn chart, the whole fucking thing was useless. Poke. Oh no. So there's pros and cons for all of this. But anyway, interesting. This company, of course, they're in the alcoholic beverage business. And alcoholic beverages actually usually do pretty well through recessionary environments. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that kind of gives you the context of the broader market picture. I suppose, why don't we spend the rest of the time here talking your beloved crypto and Bitcoins and all that. So hopefully you understand the logic of what I'm thinking about here for something like GE going forward. As I'd said to start off the broadcast, I was a little surprised to, but I think actually I clicked this and that's what this was. I was a bit surprised to see, where is this? I was over here. Oh boy, there's an ugly image. Cypher is calling the end of the world. Stock market performance of today's equity bubble versus the 1929 bubble. Yeah, the problem here though is that we are in completely different how do you say this, demographic parts of the demographic curve. And also too, I would say here is the 1929 price action. That's the pure price action of the index without currency manipulation. If you actually look at this, whatever you have here, today's disruptor bubble, if you actually look at this and take the money printing out of the equation, it doesn't look like this at all. So I, politely enough, and with all due respect, think this is garbage. I don't think that that's relevant information. Sorry, don't mean to be a dick. Anyway, put that debate to bed pretty quickly, eh? Anyway, here's our breadth. Actually, breadth is, and I kind of like this, although I would prefer that we have a little bit more negative momentum here in the short term. We still really don't have a washed out reading here. I love it. Like we had briefly there a washed out reading from the crypto, and on the fast index, we've been getting lots of washed out signals. But the ultimate, this market has bottomed, there is no more down, there just can't be because we've run out of sellers. That's when you see these histograms both go deeply embedded oversold. So we're not quite there yet. And sadly, Mr. Williams, who I respect him. I think it's kind of funny listening to other traders that are like veteran traders joke about Larry Williams. Of course, most of you that are relatively young, you have no idea about the trouble Larry got into earlier in his career. One options guy I was listening to, the young kids on social media go, "Oh, did you hear what Larry Williams said?" This one options guy, he goes, "Is that guy out of jail yet? I thought he was still in jail," which I thought was hilarious because almost everybody on social media now, Larry's old as dirt. And of course, hey, he does his videos and you all think he walks on water. And what's funny is in one of the videos, recent interviews I watched recently, the guy said, well, really young guy, he goes, well, Mr. Williams, is there anything that you regret in your age and your years and your wisdom now? And he goes, yeah, I sure wish I was a little nicer when I was younger. So it's a beautiful anecdote on how perceptions of people can change. Like I said earlier, I bet you none of you even know who Jack Welch even is. But I make reference to Nortel Networks, which was an absolute perfect analogy of the stupidity of Canadian investors, and a beautiful analogy of the dot-com bubble. And ironically enough, within 5 years after the dot-com bubble popped, Nortel Networks, that was at 1.35% of the entire Canadian stock market, which is absolute stupidity. It was gone, bankrupt. See you later. You guys probably never even heard of the company. Anyway, I like the fact that crypto is getting washed out, but unfortunately, we're not getting that panic dump. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. We actually got that reading out of the bond market here recently, and bonds have actually started to outperform as stocks have faltered here a bit. But I suppose one of the things that will help the bonds a bit here is the scuttlebutt. And actually, this is a pretty good segue. Mind you, I'm supposed to be talking crypto. I don't know. Do we want to talk more stock market? Probably not. And I'm probably going to run out of time here too. Oh, what the hell I did? I just pulled a muscle in my chest. Yikes. Obviously, that's karma for beating up on Jack Welch. Maybe we'll leave sort of a deep dive into this kind of stuff and what's driving the bond market moving higher. Hint, 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 the Fed's actually thinking about maybe even cutting interest rates again. And of course, the commodity prices look very weak, so that does help bonds. But I think we'll probably just leave that at that for today. Not a bad. Obviously, the Bears got the ball. We are getting washed out. I remember we had that really insane tail low, not inverted wick. On the poop coins there a little while ago. What I'm noticing now, and this is unfortunately what usually has to happen, is markets basically coming down, eating tails. Where's the best place to show you this? We got a fun little demo trade on this funny little Z trash name. I don't know whether talking 30-minute charts to you guys makes much sense though here. Yeah, we can probably just use this. Anybody who's a student of mine, you got no business even touching this thing here. You should be spoon feeding the market. One guy, well, I'm quite impressed. He has learned over the years. He was saying that he sold about 3 or 4 times on the way up here, just banging out doubles as it keeps moving higher and higher and higher. And that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing in this kind of market state here. For God's sakes, please, I don't want to hear anybody talking about investing in ZEC here. That's just lunacy. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to get to. What I noticed, especially when I go through all my shit coins here, and yes, I'm a bag holder. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is a little old lady strategy. So, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm leaving this company at the end of the month, and I might even just ask the principals of this company, hey, do you want to sell any of this stuff? It's at the bottom end of the range. I wouldn't as an investor. I would just simply hold on to it. My hunch is they probably want me completely gone and they'll just liquidate all this, and that's fine. So be it. But that has nothing to do with, is this investment grade or is this garbage and you're entering in a trap coming in and buying something like this? Most of these names actually haven't really done anything. And I wouldn't be surprised, especially as we move further and further into the growth cycle, think Brian's fear greed cycle, we're probably going to move more and more away from proof of work, immutable blockchain, which gives us, of course, an out from all the insane money printing and dilution of currencies to try and stabilize, the hegemon's economy while it was going through its great resetting, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't be surprised if one by one, if these names actually have some fundamental value to them, that you will start seeing them perk up. And you might even start seeing some substantial rallies here into the spring. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, these things have got a long way to come back just to even get back to midpoints, let alone new bull markets, new 52-week highs. So you could make an argument, especially a lot of these names, like Doge. Like, why is Doge? I thought everybody was in love with Alan. I thought Alan was going to recreate the fucking universe or something with this thing. Could I justifiably come in and nanny nibble on a name that looks like that? Of course, I would do that every day of the week. I don't have a problem with some, if I was a broker, somebody call and say, I'm thinking about doing a little bit of bottom fishing. I see that dog money sitting basically at your favorite fib and previous long-term structural bottom levels. I don't mind going in and picking up a little bit of this. I'd be like, okay, sounds good. Just remember Brian's 2 rules of investing. So number 1, what's your algorithm? Well, my algorithm is I like to buy against previous structural lows. My algorithm is I like to buy down markets. My algorithm is I love 78.6 fibs. Okay, as long as you have 3 unrelated reasons justify taking a trade, something along those lines. Hey, I like to buy against previous W's. Well, whatever. And then, of course, just don't take too much risk on any one single bet. My rule is, and it's a generous rule, it's you better not freaking break this number ever. Most traders that I run into, especially like futures traders, they like to say 1% of their portfolio, their stake, right? I'll risk that. What I just generally tell people is just don't ever break the 5% rule. Or don't put more than 5% of your money into any one single idea. And if it starts working for you, great. You don't have to sell it all. You can just slowly spoon feed. And you might find that position actually turns into 10% of your portfolio, turns into 20% of your portfolio. You don't know. I mean, that's capitalism, right? But as the market works higher, just keep paying yourself for your efforts. Anyway, so this is a pretty good example. And remember, we had that big FU candle there. And when I saw that happen, I was like, crap, we got to leave this shit alone. And I still think until you actually start seeing the market make W's down here, where you go, okay, we've got a floor to work with now. I don't think you really got any business calling bottoms in these kind of markets. You're just going to get ripped apart. And of course, right, wicks and tails like to be eaten. There's a whole bunch. Somebody actually panic sold into this event. Obviously, it was a lot of liquidations, but somebody sold. And then they see the spring back and go, oh, that wasn't such a smart idea. Gee whiz. So as soon as we get down to those levels, they're like, buy, get me back in there. Yeah, I know this was a terrible idea. So get me back in there. So that's, I think, what's going on there is we're just slowly releasing all these trap bears down here. And you might even argue some people that even, what's another way to say this? Well, I suppose you could even argue what is a reload zone of that range, right? There's a dead cat bounce. So once we start getting into reload zones, don't be surprised. I teach everybody you should expect mountain man levels along here. So not really a big surprise, an inside bar form there off that level. So, it is what it is. But I might suggest, especially for slow pokes in this business, like this is the kind of stuff, if you really want to time your purchases, that's what you want to see. Right. So you get some sort of sell off, then you get a dead cat bounce, right? And then you draw your reload zones against that dead cat bounce, and then you're hunting for those W's down in the reload zones. So we might be near a bottom here, but I think it's still a little bit early. I'd also say too, and I just randomly picked this name, the whole space looks basically the same. I might make the argument that this really won't be a new bull market until a W actually comes in on the other side of that trend line. So what we might find, kind of like what I said with the stock market, is I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see some sort of dead cat bounce into the end of the year. Maybe it doesn't happen that quickly, maybe it's something like that. And ironically enough, actually, we'll be coming into what's called the January effect, which ironically enough, what that implies is that this price is actually going to be relatively weak into the end of the year. And then into the new year, actually, that's when we should get our rally, where you can imagine anybody who invested in this thing all through all through pretty much almost all. There's just a little window down here in April. Then another one. You could even argue we're below that, eh? So almost anybody who bought this thing through 2025, they're underwater. So, I mean, let's assume they bought a little bit of NVIDIA, right? And woohoo, it took off. Then they sold it. Then the tax man, or maybe the accountant, I said, you do realize there's going to be a tax bill associated with that. And so they go, oh, crap. I already reinvested the money. What am I supposed to do now? Well, you better can't tell Uncle Sam no. You know what that leads to. So they scramble around their portfolios looking for names. Well, actually, it turns out my next door neighbor's son-in-law says that Doge is all the rage and I've got to buy some. So I went in and I bought some here. I don't know whether they're watching the video right now. I'm sure they're probably like, reckon schmucking friend. There's Adam. Is that my Adam? Anyway, inside joke. Anyway, the point of the matter here is if they have a tax bill associated with their awesome NVIDIA and they don't want to have to pay that tax, they might look in their portfolio, find a loser of the equal amount, sell this into the end of the year, and then the tax bill disappears. So that's kind of what I think is going to happen here for a lot of this space here into the end of the year. Don't be surprised if we actually form a cute little tradable bottom through the end of the year here. So keep your eyes peeled. And then, like I said, following that tax selling event window, we have what's called the January effect, which is the pressure of these juniors. This happens to be a poop coin, but the whole venture cap stock market's the same. It enjoys sort of like a phew. Oh, the sellers are done. Thank goodness. And so you actually might be given a really cute little entry here through the mid to latter part of December. Keep your eyes peeled. I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see some tradable bought lows. But the only problem here with that thinking, of course, is that this is going to be nothing more than technical in nature, where, we probably should expect things like 50% bounces. And also the TBG Colin. And really, I'm just going to keep calling it Colin because he's the one that I attribute this to, his dump chaser zone. And ironically enough, you can make the argument, we'll look at some names here earlier that have basically done exactly the same thing, just going the other direction. This is what you should expect at any given point in time. Now, could you make the argument, well, Brian, that is your 50% bounce right there? Yeah, you could. Maybe what I would say is maybe redraw your level, something like that. Interesting there is 50% level. So if we get a bit more selling here into the end of the year, it might produce a half decent little rally window for you. So keep that in mind. Do I have any buy signals here per se right here today? Not really. I think we're a little bit early to get uber bullish about this space now. And probably that's a good segue. What I'm seeing here out of something like Bitcoin, my commentary here was basically we had the cycle pivot come and go. And wow, was that ever a cycle pivot? I noticed a lot of people are pissed off at me, but nobody seems to be pissed off at that Allen and his Gronk. He was caught, he even like people paid money. I will never ever tell you where I think the market's going to go for money. I mean, come on. But for money, he actually, and really, this is Allen. Gronk is just some bullshit sort of mask. I mean, you're basically buying Allen if you buy that Gronkowski thing. Anyway, point of the matter here is Gronk purchasers, service purchasers. Wow, did they ever get hosed there? I was hoping, hope. Can I buy Liam a house? I was hoping that we'd have a big push up top, and I would be given permission to let my Bitcoins go, and I'll go buy a house for my son, but it never came out. So as a result, I'm still bag holding. And really, I'm not really in a big hurry to do anything with all that. It is an asset on the balance sheet. And as long as I don't touch it, then there are no tax implications for now in my country. But nasty anecdote about these damn cycle pivots. The weird thing is that we've gone through like 3 or 4 of them now. So you can't say that this is, I mean, this is half the reason why I made the grandiose sort of, I am no longer officially a crypto bull right here. Even put the tweet out and everything. And it wasn't necessarily like I had some message from the other side or something that price is going to crash, price is going to. All I knew was look at, you can see what's happened in the previous cycles following these absolutely beautiful fib time studies. Big shout out to Neck of a Pencil. He was the first one who really introduced me to this in earnest. I'm sure there were a few other people as well. But absolutely perfect tool to use. So did I expect that we would just absolutely go straight line down here? I didn't expect it, but market will do any old damn thing it wants. In an interesting sort of way, I really do think that we're doing something along these lines, which leads me to believe we're going to hit some sort of short-term apex here in the near term. I don't know exactly what the catalyst is going to be. It's interesting how Larry Williams, another reference to Larry, his cycles and stuff are looking for some sort of pivot low in early February of this year for Bitcoin. So I do find it fascinating how that thing made a cycle low there in February 5th, 2018. I don't know. I guess there's the new year. So that's January 17th, February 21st. There was a little bit of a reprieve, then another massive leg lower. I don't, given what I think about the January barometer, and well, actually, that's not relevant. Given what I think about what's going to happen here for the 2026 market, and unfortunately, the political bombshell that I think is going to be dropped in November. I actually like this kind of scenario. That's what I'm thinking here is they just rip the Band-Aid off. Then everybody and their brother has completely lost interest in Bitcoin and cryptos and, Trump minions, Arthur Hayes, Tom Lee, sailors, all these people are just vilified as evil villains of society, and wouldn't even be surprised people start calling for my head and shit. But then the market just sort of stabilizes and everybody just sort of gets comfortable with, well, Bitcoin's 80 G's, right? Bitcoin's 90 G's. I wouldn't be surprised now that the big fat round number, 100 grand, I think this will actually act as almost like the market will oscillate around it. As it just, it is a psychological event. And I think we're probably going to do something along those lines. So in the near term, I do like a bounce here. I think we've come an awful long way in a very short period of time. And, as I had said here, I could actually hear the thump as the entire market just dumped into harmonic levels. I think also, too, this is such a great lesson on good old Ray Burchett. And at any given point in time, you should expect 38.2 retracements. Any given point in time. This can happen. And look how the market just dumped right into that 38.2 and just jackknifed right off of those lows. And what a surprise. That dump, if we go look at this piece of wonderfulness, right into that big options expiry I was talking about earlier. And oh, what a surprise. They literally dumped it right into a buying zone. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's so cliche how this crap works. And 35 people watching this video. And look at this. How can I participate in bullshit, garbage, crypto nonsense shills? I tell you, this space, I'm so disillusioned with this space. I'm pretty disappointed, to be honest with you. Really, really poor ethics, poor morals, the whole fucking thing. Anyway, so Bitcoin's been securitized, all that crap, right? I actually think it's these guys that are actually driving the bus with regard to something like Bitcoin. And I actually might make the argument that all they did was they just backed it up into a buying window, filled in gaps, back in. I would make the argument now that this entire profile, you could actually make the argument this is what's called double distribution. So we have one distribution here. We have another distribution here. Obviously, you can see a bunch of very active, excited people here. A bunch of very active, excited people here. And usually what ends up happening is we get really enamored with this area of the profile because this actually works as really, really good like lubrication, sort of a friction zone, if you could think of that. I don't know. I don't want to get too graphic, but I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to point out. So ultimately, these profiles really want to look like a parabola. And ironically enough, when the profile actually looks like a square, then you know that the entire sort of region of price action has been fully explored, and all of the buyers that are going to buy bought, all the sellers that are sold are going to sell. Right now, I would argue this profile, there is a huge hole in this profile right here that needs backfilling. And, you can see where the 200 SMA is. This also corresponds with our big fat round number. And then notice the moving averages, and keep in mind, look how tightly the price respects the 13 EMA. Above it, back to it, below it, back to it, above it, back to it, below it, back to it, below it, back to it, etc., etc. A huge move off of it, back to it, below it, back to it, above, back to it. You get the idea, above, back to it. 13 EMA right now is sitting at 106,218. Do I think that the market needs to trade back to the 13 EMA? Yes. Did I not point out that, yeah, the market actually likes to respect the 13 EMA a lot? Are we maybe a little overdone to the downside here? I think so. Have they got, the public freaked out? I think I even heard social media influencers saying, sell Bitcoin, get out. This is garbage. It's the end of the world, blah, blah, blah. And ironically enough, I think you could actually make the argument all they've done is just back this thing into a buying window. Fascinating, eh? Anyway, if we look at this entire distribution, I think you can make the argument value low here should probably be explored. You can see the MUOC right in there. I find it very difficult to believe that we're going to be able to get above this range. Anybody who bought up here, keep in mind, a lot of people who bought this ETF up top here, those are the trap bulls. And any kind of counter trend rally, they're probably going to want to be released. I think you could also make the argument too, market structure shift. That's your, I can't remember what the hell he calls it, order zone or something like that up there. But like I said before, the easy way for me to think about that is just simply draw your fibs. And you just want to watch like a hawk right around good old Mountain Man right in there. Yeah, not a big surprise. That's the hawk. So nice little counter trend rally back up into here. And I could actually start thinking about shorting this. Here? No, you can't touch that there. So if we think about that kind of image, I think you see the same thing on old Bitcoin. I could easily see a rally. And, as I had said earlier on other names we were looking at, I can't really get bullish of this space. I think it was the stock market, same thing, until we can start getting actual structural signals on the other side of this downtrend line. Right now, we're in a bear. It's just the bear's kind of overdone here. I'm leery to talk to this audience about trade setups, but what the hell, we'll have some fun here. Obviously, in this dump environment, 38.2s, bottom of value for here against previous lows. The sharpshooters thinking about maybe coming in and seeing whether there's some money to be made to the upside. Well, I don't fault them. So that's basically what this thinking is. I definitely think that we have to be careful in this space, because it has been securitized, I guess, that we don't. What's the best way to do this for you guys? I thought I had it off of that chart. Anyway, maybe I'll just go back here. We'll go 4 hour. So this is the retail close on Friday. Geez, somebody's really trying to get a hold of me. I'll be right back. Getting a call from the United Kingdom? What the fuck? Oh, man, this world. Did I say something earlier about how these technology companies are completely out of control? And it would probably be a good idea for our society as humans to take control back from these assholes. Anyway. All right. So here is a notation about Friday's retail close here. Where are we here? Yeah, let's zoom in. That higher time frame conversation, I don't really see it on this chart. This probably isn't the best chart to show you all this, but there is that big fat round number. I could very easily see us have to, over the next week or two, trade back against those lows. See a 200 SMA perking its head up here. So is it outlandish to hunt for little trades down in here looking for that pop back up? I don't think it's outlandish. I think you have to be very careful. And, as I said, most new people to investing, you got no business looking at this kind of stuff, but I thought I'd just talk you through this. Really simply put, I want to see signs. Obviously, we have trade location. If you ever see green boxes on my charts, trade location. Reload zones. That's what I like to do. So this is a 78.6 here. And then, of course, I showed you those bear A, B, C, D objectives. Then what I like to do is once we start getting into trade location, then start looking at indicator confirmation, all that kind of fun stuff. I guess this is the daily chart, so you can actually see that trade location a lot better. Alt ABCD 1.272 bought objective 78.6, and that higher time frame 38.2. So this is definitely a level we ought to be paying attention to. At that point, then I like to drill down. Although you could probably see this here. Maybe what if I'll change this to a 4-hour. So hopefully you can see off of the 4 hours. Here, let's maximize this. There we go. So let's put this away for now. Nope, that's not what I want. Let's go like that, just so you can see this. All right, so coming down into trade location. Do I have anything set up on the 4 hours yet? Well, interesting. This low, right? Because it's 4 hour. Oh, that's Ethereum. Knucklehead Brian, gonna get yourself into trouble. Let's go over to stamp. There we go. So big dump into that options expiry. Interesting. I even sort of tweeted out last week, keep your eyes peeled when you see MACD coil like this. Usually there's going to be some fireworks. And I think that's exactly what happened here. So we had the coil. There's the top. There's the dump low into that low. Then we started to coil in momentum. That was through this. We got a little head fake perk up. That was this move right here. But that was a false breakout, eh? No double bottoms. And yes, you're getting a momentum divergence. But if we're hunting setups, okay, at this point with the momentum divergence, now we want to hunt for W's for structure, right? So location, indicator confirmation, price structure, go. And I even wrote up like this huge long rant on Twitter. How do you find trade setups now that indicator confirmations come in following trade location? Drill down to your lower time frames and start hunting bots, L-tangonators, etc. And you can see in very typical fashion, this is it often, take a screenshot of this because it's incredibly valuable information. Often when MACD coils like this, you get a head fake move in one direction. Oh, hey, we got bullish momentum divergence. Let's rock and roll. We're all going to get rich. And then the thing comes around and just pukes out the other side. That was your puke out. And in a weird sort of way, I think that this actually marked a capitulation bottom. Because it was interesting, you saw I had Ethereum on the screen there a second ago. Ethereum absolutely puked out and actually started to go into free fall. And I actually was making reference about Ethereum that for quite a long time, we were in sort of that long, slow grind of death kind of bear move. And usually the way that these things have to end, and I actually don't like the fact that they've bid this thing up here, we might be right back into long, slow grind of death market. What I wanted to see was just an absolute puke out. You stay down, you go down, and you stay down here. So the fact that they're actually starting to bring this thing back actually makes me believe that maybe we haven't had the capitulation yet, which sucks because, the irony of this is, this is what I don't understand. I reached out to Tom Lee and actually tried to teach him a little bit of TA. What the hell are you doing coming in and touting when a market looks like this? I could understand that that Trump idiot would come in here and tout this because the guy's a fool. Think of Trump University. What a fucking con job all that was. But nobody seems to talk about Trump University in the mega clan. I don't know why, but I think they just don't want to acknowledge what a con artist Trump really is. I mean, he's a bully. 1,100 lawsuits. What a fucking headache. Um, but for God's sakes, do not take investment advice from these people. That's just suicide. So it makes perfect sense. Eric Trump would come out here and say, buy this because the guy's an idiot. Um, it makes absolutely no sense why Tom Lee would come out in this market and tout his idea of building his Ethereum trust right into the cycle peak. That made no sense to me at all. And oh, by the way, how's his stock doing? Keep in mind, all of these poor people, they all got suckered in to buying this. And this is what I'm really afraid of for things like Zcash. Can you not see the similarities between that image and this image? It's the same damn image. It's just we're still up at the top. I mean, you can see this gap here. Anybody who's buying this here, you're certifiably insane. I mean, from a risk manager's perspective, is that a low risk investment? Can somebody call up Mr. Besant as a risk manager and ask him his opinion about whether Cypherpunk is a good investment here? God. It's got disaster written all over it. It really does. Oh, goodness. Anyway, so I don't know what you say to a guy like Tom, except what I said to his video was I said, I'll be more than happy to bid for your stock at 4.25. Ouch. Wow, look at the bots. They're just relentless here, right? Look at these idiots. Well, goodbye. And you're gone. So there's a hell of a lot of problems here with these markets. And look at these bots are actually out of control now. Isn't that a shame? Kind of probably going to spend the rest of this video here just deleting these idiots. Anyway, rant. Sure hope you enjoyed that. So what's sort of the summary out of all of this? The summary is I do think that we have rolled over in crypto from bull to bear. But at the same time, too, if we just use a simple logic, what is trend line resistance on something like this? I might actually think that trend line resistance right now is actually this window right here. So the irony of it all is I think you could actually see a pretty substantial rally in this space because it's just been absolutely destroyed. And yet it doesn't actually even mark a new bull market. Actually, I think that's resistance. And here we are here. So ironically enough, if I was going to teach a course on trading, I would say, well, I can't really get bullish until I see structure on the other side of these trend lines, please. Way over here. And my hunch is, of course, we know, thanks to a neck of a pencil and all these fucking brilliant people that I've had the privilege to work with over the years here through this experience. And it's fascinating that people like Tom Lee don't even know this shit. And he starts like picking apart the crypto 4-year cycle and he's measuring the pivots off of the halving events. What a doofus. And I even tried to reach out to these people and say, you're doing this wrong. And yet they completely ignore me. Or they know what the right answer is, but they don't want to tell the public the right answer. That would make it way too easy for the public. I don't know. Anyway, point of the matter here is this cycle actually, unfortunately, we end the bearish part of this cycle and we start the bottoming process part of this cycle, not bull market, just the bottoming process, like over here. So ironically enough, you might find that this thing goes and then you get your W on other sides of trend lines over here. That would make perfect sense to me. And the irony of it all is we could even draw some nice, pretty uptrend lines. I think these assets have been securitized. I can't see Wall Street allowing these kind of assets to go to zero. They've just invested way too much money. If anything, now you're starting to hear all the FUD stories, how they engineer bringing these markets back down into buying windows for the institutional players. Remember, and this is what I also told Tom, institutions buy down markets, not up markets. They buy down markets. And he knows this. So what the hell is he doing shilling this BMNR up here? I can tell you exactly why he's shilling this here and did this here, because this is the top of the cycle and he wants to get paid. In essence, this is, we loaded up the deal down here and we are letting the public have it into here. And the irony of it all is he's probably going to buy all of the shit back down here. That's the way this damn game goes. Hey, there you go. So Michael says Tom Lee bought shares at 450. Okay, well, and that's exactly where I think you should buy this. So how ironic, Michael, you totally validated my entire thesis. What do I tell people? Who can answer this? Let's see. I know you're a student of mine. If you understand how the logic of this trade works, because ironically enough, this is actually one of the models that I even teach in my education. So what are we supposed, after stock splits, in this case, reverse split, destroy the old shareholders? Let's see if any of you are actually students of mine. What are the kind of things that we want to see to justify us getting long? Can anybody help me? Hint, hint, hint. This is VCIM 101, right out of the level 1 course. And what a fantastic lesson for all of you in the public. In fact, I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. All right, interesting. Somebody says divergence. Does divergence have anything to do at all with fundamental analysis? Interesting. Somebody says 3 unrelated reasons. You guys haven't taken my education program, have you? How about you people in the lounge? Glass Insights, you know everything. Okay, well, venture capital, wonderful, great. You've identified what V and C stand for. You're awesome. Does anybody know how to? And this is kind of sad because I've been teaching this model now for how many years? And I don't have a single person here who can answer this model question. Oh, frig. It just goes to show. I think my time's done. I just wasted 10 years of my life. Chris, do you know the answer to this? Anyone? Really? That's sad. Oh, man. Mr. Forehand, I apologize wherever you are in the universe. I tried to teach people these people your model, and they just didn't listen. Oh, well. Nobody going to give this a shot? Adam, you should know the answer to this. Rolled back stock. Shares for debt. Options to directors. Insider ownership. Does options to directors not imply? Well, we know exactly where the insiders are long from. And Michael actually just gave you the answer. We know Tom Lee insiders are long from $4.50 a share. So now you have rolled back stock. I didn't see any shares for debt news. And frankly speaking, I think the fundamentals of this thing are an absolute train wreck. So I'm not impressed with the fundamentals like earnings perspective and all this, but that's another conversation. But now you have information. Look at this, another stupid asshole. Travis, you suck horse cocks. Goodbye. And you're not even really Travis. You're probably your real name is Jugdish. Anyway, now you have, thanks to, in fact, you know what? I'll even take a screenshot of that and let's save this. And Michael, if you can actually find me a news release or something that actually attests to that, I would love you forever. But ironically enough, now we have criteria 2 of VCIM. We have consolidated stock and we have exactly where insiders are long. So you have no business whatsoever being long this asset from anywhere materially above this number. And oh, what a surprise. I would told them I'll be more than happy to bid for your stock at the price gap, which of course is technical analysis. This is all about fundamental analysis. So interestingly enough, we got some great anecdotal evidence there of value. If I'll be more than happy to be long your stock, Mr. Lee, but I'll be happy to be long your stock where you are long or lower, not higher. Fascinating. So you know what? I think I'm going to tweet that out because that's such an interesting image. Where can I do that? I'll go BMNR. Turns out we have 2 of 3 criteria to meet VCIM model. Taught to me by Chris Forehand, one of the best floor brokers I ever worked with in my career. Problem is, Tom is long from 450, not anywhere near where we are now. So you shouldn't be long from here either. Fascinating. Let's see. Boom, boom. Why don't we just say not here? What's the price there? I can't even read that. And you know, these videos, I just like to have fun with you guys. You're not even 26. Holy shit. Not 26. All right, that's gonna piss those guys off to no end. But what the hell? I'm here to help you people. Right? I'm not here to show you some stupid garbage cryptocurrency that people like Alan wants you to. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is Alan and all of his buddies that are blitzing these YouTube videos to try and get you to go, hey, look, somebody, Travis says this is a really good buy. Oh, I you know what? I don't want to bother learning myself what a good buy is. I'm just going to listen to this smart person. It turns out it's not actually even a person on YouTube videos commenting. I mean, that's the scam of this fucking world. It's just horrible. So I don't know. Any of you 35 people watching, can you give me a little bit of feedback? Am am I making a positive difference with all my horrible rants here? Am I getting through to any of you? Have I already been censored? None of you even have the ability to answer. Hey, there you go. There's yes, you do. Okay, I'm going to take that as a positive. So, and Chris, God rest your soul. I miss you, buddy. You were one of my favorite people in my entire career. This guy was such a beautiful human. Anyway, moving on. Um, okay, so I think I've basically given you my 2 cents of what I expect to happen here in the market. It's already 1 o'clock. I could look at a name or two if you want me to. I did think I saw somebody above say, "Hey, can you look at this one?" I wish a good afternoon with Liam, music, his favorite food, and both of you with a smile in your hearts. Wow, what a cool statement. Thank you, MM. ET3NC, and you didn't even shill a shitcoin, eh? Hello from Tel Aviv. That's kind of cool. Let's go BTC. I suppose we could talk BTC if you wanted to. Oh yeah, I guess we were talking about this, but I kind of got off topic. Okay. So market was dumping, big dump, but interestingly enough, following that big washout dump there, notice, oh, interesting, MACD did not go to new lows. That's kind of odd. It's a bit surprising. So that actually started making me sort of feel as though, maybe we're getting close to some sort of capitulation. And you can see we actually had quite a bit of buying volume coming in on this candle that made a new low there. You can see Willie nice and stupid. So at this point, I don't have any sort of justification to be hunting any setups here, but we came down into quite a low. We did put in this funny little sort of we dumped violently following the MACD coil mess. We did not make new lows, or maybe we made new lows marginally, but we didn't go materially lower here on momentum. Momentum actually is flashing oversold signals. So I'm starting to think, maybe there's something to work with here. So, through the weekend, we have a lot of fun just, flipping coins, just sort of, lower time frame, day trader, swing trader kind of trades, having fun. As I said, I don't know whether I really think this is in, the general public's best interest to get too jazzed up in this kind of stuff. But, for illustration purposes, hopefully you understand my logic here. So there was that dump, and of course, everybody and their brother turned bearish, and then dead cat bounces. So that was this event here. Remember, we had said off the higher time frames, we actually had a situation where 4 hours, well, we weren't really puking out to new lows materially. But notice on the actual dump event, look at what momentum did off of this time frame. Wow, there's something really disconnected here. Well, we'll just go here. Like so, and like so, and like so. So we're off the 30-minute chart here now. So notice market selling off, huge dump. Then we rallied back, then even more dumps. And this was that capitulation. Like I said, ETH, everything was right on its knees. They were just dumping everything. But notice, look how MACD did not go to new lows. So we had trade location. We're hunting divergence, right? That's our sort of LI. We, of course, have the market completely oversold. So we've got the L, we've got the I. And so really it was just a question of when does the C come in? There's the C with the confirmed divergence. So at this point, it's just a question of, all right, can we get some structure here to frame a risk? So as you can see here, we just politely, a lot of back and forth, and then notice, look at that. Geez, that kind of looks like an inverted head and shoulders. shoulder, neckline, head, neckline, shoulder, neckline, more shouldery, breakout. And what's really cool about this, and of course, traders got to trade. I'm constantly hunting setups to try and get me into trade. So that, we had location. There's Friday's retail close. I think this was the capitulation dump that was actually false. I have a feeling that into tomorrow's retail open, they have been given direct instructions. You better have this price right back at this with no scratches on the car and the gas tank full. And for God's sakes, if you have any, dents or something, you're dead. But, I go into sort of spidey sense, super hunting. And of course, what's really interesting is I have an RSI momentum model that I follow. So there is the divergence in MACD. There is the washed out Willie. And of course, here come two W's, one W, and then a bigger W off of exactly the same moment in time. That spits out a buy signal for my RSI model. And I'm in there on the buy side. Now, it's a really shitty level because what this literally means, I have to buy this, the yellow signaling candles high, which unfortunately you can see set up a really shitty price. I had to buy there. Yuck. And that meant I had to risk all the way down to here. Yuck. It's a valid signal, and a trader's got to trade. If this is the setup in your plan, live by the plan, just the way it goes. You might have looked at that and gone, that's just way too much risk. I can't handle that. So just let things settle down. It turns out I did strap this on from this position, but it was fascinating to watch through yesterday. Oh, look at that. A pretty little bot formed, A to B, C to D. And so I was like, fuck it, let's go. So had a buy signal here, which meant that I had to risk down here, way too much risk. But interestingly enough, you can see the bot setup or where the market wants to basically be long from was basically that same level. I thought that was awfully coincidental. And so as a result, traders got to trade. I'm not recommending anybody, especially if you're new to this, you have no business looking at this, but it's a pretty good illustration of, I think they sold the baby, threw the baby out with the bathwater. And now this is the process of what they call climbing the wall of worry. And let's see, we hear you loud and clear, Brian. Oh, that's good. All right. No more bots. Interesting. The bots went away. So this is a setup that I used to trade when I was a prop trader a million years ago. And ironically enough, I still trade it. And I'll probably go back to being a bot or prop trading in January. So go figure. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Do I have 3 higher lows to risk against? 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows. Geez, that looks pretty good. RSI slick momentum models aside, I like the fact that the slick momentum model basically is the same level as here. And I like the A, B, C, D, because you remember all those conversations I had with you about weekly price charts, and now they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And what we really should do here is probably come right back to big fat round numbers, which is up in here, trend line resistance, which is up in here. This is actually the old uptrend line. What I think probably is going to happen here is old uptrend lines now actually turn into resistance. And of course, we've had this long-standing old trend line of previous peaks. I think that also will be quite a resistance level. So put it all together. Does it make sense given the weekly conversation I had with you guys about maybe the market rallying back into resistance here? I think it makes perfect sense. And keep in mind, 13 EMA is still sitting up there at 106. So we might go back up to the BFRM, but actually punch right through it and play around on the other side. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So as a result, I like this long. I think it worked. And as you can see, move stop to scratch. At this point, you shouldn't lose any money on this. So stop gets moved to scratch there. Then move stop to trailing, actually start locking in profits. I like to use a method of locking in profits called the 3 high low method to trail stops, where you don't really get too wrapped up in this most recent low. On this push up here, move stop to trailing. Don't get suckered into moving your stop just below there. As you can see, they brought that down, they washed that stop, and then boom, right back up we go. So what I like to do is I like to count backwards and give a couple market structure level support. So there's 1, 3 high low method. There's 2, there's 3. Well, I already have my stop at scratch right now, so there's no reason to do anything. But then you notice, oh, look at that new market structure. Now I could go 1, 2, 3, well, or maybe 3 there. Oh, great. I get to move my stop up a little bit. Well, and then just every time we make new market structure, you can just keep moving your stop up, but keep thinking 3 high low, because this most recent low, it can very easily be washed, and we like to call that the noob stop. Geez, here's another asshole. Hey, Victor, go fuck yourself. Bye. And really, that's not Victor, that's Jugdish. And he probably F's himself on a daily basis. So if I'm going to be moving my stops, notice we just made another new high. Well, I'm just going to do my 3 high low method and count backwards. And now if I really wanted to, although I noticed, I think it's right on the current stop level. There we go. I could, and I think for you guys, I will. Come on, if this stupid thing will work. Come on. I just won't select it. You knucklehead. No, just won't. Look out. I can select that one. I can select that one, but this one? Oh, sorry. Anyway, I think we could go 1 kilo. That looks like a pretty nice swing low. Looks like this is a nice swing low. We'll go there. I'm tempted just to leave the stop where it is, but I suppose I could move it up there. But the point here is just try not to get sucked into moving your stop just below the most recent low, because usually these actually act as magnets if they're going after stop runs. I can't select that damn thing. So, but I think I can move this. Let's see. Can I move that? Yeah, there we go. So this low here is 86,303. So let's go maybe 86,3. Well, let's go 295. So just below that low, 86,303. Yeah, that works. Now I can move this. Yay! So something like that. Then we'll go confirm, and away you go. Keep in mind, I have orders to pay myself for my efforts. Should we go a little bit ape crazy to the upside? But if this thing actually starts showing some structural damage, considering we're starting to come out of the weekend session, we have to start getting ready for retail. My hunch is they're probably going to start bringing this back, because remember, there's Friday's retail close. And my hunch is they have instructions to bring this thing back exactly where they left off. They might gap this higher tomorrow morning. I don't know. I don't think they really want to create an island bottom here. If they do, then we definitely know price is coming back to this level at some point in the future. It would probably be more healthy for this thing just to quietly put in a bottom here. But I suppose this is crypto and this is taco capitalism. So we gap violently higher here tomorrow, and then we spend the next month backfilling. That wouldn't surprise me either. Anyway, so hopefully that gives you an idea what I'm thinking about here, or Bitcoin in the near term. So absolute train wreck bear. And investors, I don't think investors have any business touching this thing. Ironically enough, from just pure old, cycle pivots, highs and lows. I am not looking for a cycle low here until next September. I wouldn't be surprised if we go sideways up here for quite a while. But at the same time, too, thinking back to what happened in 2018, knowing that we've got an absolute train wreck of a political event coming up here next November, I think the Democrats are going to come storming back into power, and they're basically going to turn Donald Trump into an impotent lame duck the last 2 years of his presidency. That's my hunch. And of course, we all know Democrats don't like crypto very much. So, would it make sense for us to have that final capitulation dump through that sort of fear that the Democrats are going to shit all over crypto? And then we mysteriously find actually they're pretty friendly and it's business as usual, blah, blah, blah. And that starts the bottoming process once again. Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen here. So, shitcoins, we'll finish off with just a comment about this. There's that absolutely insane tail I was talking about, on dog money and all that kind of crap. Not really a big surprise. There is the rally peak. If we draw our fibs back against the lows, oh, what a surprise. You know how much Brian loves his 78.6. All of these trap bears here are now basically getting released. If they want to buy the positions back, they can. Cute little inside bar. If we had a bullish momentum divergence down here, I would actually say, we got location. We've got double, how much I absolutely love reload zones within reload zones. So we've got overlapping reload zones here, super sexy. If I had a momentum divergence down here and there was that inside bar, I think I might like to get long. And considering how far away the peaks are, at any given point in time, we should, you all know 38.2s, but we all know too that, and I guess it would be off of that low now, 50% levels, that would make sense. Is there any money to be made? And oh, gee whiz, it looks like Beamish is kind of thinking along those lines too. I wouldn't be surprised to see a pretty substantial rally here, folks. And ironically enough, it's probably going to be because of this crazy crap that's going on here right now. What is it? ZEC? I mean, I don't think TRIers, well, no, I can't say TRI. I don't think students of Brian Beamish, I don't think they have any business whatsoever buying this stuff up here. I think you're just asking for trouble. Having said that, could they just keep this orgy going? Sure. I mean, don't get into the business of predicting what's going to happen. Nobody knows what the fuck the future holds. What I would just simply say is coming in and buying an asset up here, you're asking for trouble. What I do like, and I thought it was kind of amusing, if you do fancy yourself a trader, keep in mind, this is not an easy vocation. But I definitely like this was kind of fun. Looking at the lower time frames, they kind of screwed me on the Cypher stock in that they actually took the stock to new highs here, even though you can clearly see the commodity itself did not go to new highs. But a fantastic anecdote of how dangerous the stock market can be, because ironically enough, this is a commodity. So the market's fairly known, but this is a recently consolidated stock. It's very thin. Can they fuck traders out here by just taking this thing to new highs and then dumping it? Sure. That kind of stuff happens in the stock market all the time. But the irony of it all is that they couldn't do that. So you can see I got stopped out on that short. What was funny about this is for the community, I had pointed out there is the losing trade on the stock. So I had to actually go and make that money back. And I like every trade I take, I just like to say, you know what? Let's risk $100. Make this really simple. Just risk $100. And ironically enough, this trade, just with these partial sells down here, I basically offset the loss of that stock manipulation trade. Normally, this would have been, all right, we take the position off, we made a bit of money, and we have a risk-free trade. But thanks to the stock market, I had to deal with this loss. So I'm basically at scratch on this trade right now, but no big deal. It's more fun than anything else. So I thought this was a really, really cool illustration of how do you organically put on hedges in markets? Because, I showed you earlier, nobody at all that's a student of mine has any business whatsoever buying something that looks like this. What are you, crazy? So, but there are people that are like, no way, man, this thing's going to the moon. We're all going to get rich. So I wanted to simply demonstrate how I would approach this. Now, they kind of fucked me. And what was kind of funny about this was that they actually set up a really cute short setup right following the FU. That was a beautiful short right there. And you would have made a pile of money. But I did this more as a price risk trade than anything else. Now I'm just babbling. I wouldn't be surprised if this is an A, B, C, D. So look out. But maybe if the market catches a bit of a bid here, maybe it can recover. But what I wanted to just basically illustrate with regard to the ZEC was when the market actually came down to the bottom there, it actually carved out like two harmonic patterns that overlap. So if you're like, Brian, just get on with the rhetoric, just show me something that I can learn from and become a better trader. Well, learn harmonics. This is actually a pretty well-defined Gartley. And then notice when we came down into the Gartley level, look how the market actually put in a really cute harmonic right off the Gartley level. And it was fascinating too, because I think you could make the argument that this is exactly where we should have been expecting the market to pivot, A to B, C to D. That is that A, B, C, D objective. And this is a really good lesson on how the market often oscillates around these big harmonic objectives and how you can hunt setups down in here. So again, my RSI model told me to start hunting down here just as all of these take profit orders are all getting filled. And ironically enough, trade location, green boxes, all that kind of talk, divergences, and then we start getting RSI buy signals coming in here. So you can see the cute little setup that came in here, 2-to-1s on 50% tags. Boom, out goes half the position. And what's super cool about this is technically now, if you had done this correctly, you got a short off the top. You've got a risk-free trade with your stop at scratch. Then you got a long off the bottom, risk-free trade, stop at scratch. So technically, this position is perfectly hedged. I couldn't believe this when I saw this. It was just so beautiful. Unfortunately, TradingView doesn't allow you to have two trades going on in different directions. So I couldn't demo this off of the TradingView platform for you guys. So I had to manually write this up, and I sent TradingView people a note saying, you really have to be able to do two separate trades off of the same asset simultaneously. And what I find fascinating about this is notice there's the 50% level. And look how the market is just basically oscillating right off of that level. I thought that was so cool. So if you are a ZEC fan, speaking to one gentleman in particular, and you're looking for a trade setup to go long because this thing's going to the moon, you could have been hunting harmonics down here. This was an absolutely incredible setup. Harmonic within harmonic, absolutely incredible. Everybody should have been like, oh shit, look at that. And sure enough, woohoo! But look at what we got happening now. One higher low, two higher lows, three higher lows. There's the bot entry level, and it looks like the trade's working. I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen here. Only speaking to those lower time frame professionals that know what the fuck they're doing in the market here. All you new people to trading, little old ladies, you got no business even looking at this stuff. But I do know we do have a few traders that are watching this. And really, the way that I'm managing this now is if we do rally and this bot is legitimate, then this position gets taken off at scratch. So fucking what? And this position just keeps making money. If, however, we roll over and we break this low, this position gets taken off and at scratch, and this position keeps making money. Isn't that cool? Man, super, super cool demo. But I don't know whether anybody got any value out of that. Anyway, that's what I was doing through the weekend. Okay, somebody, what time is it? 1:27. I got to get the hell out of here. Somebody wanted me to just quickly look at PayPal. I bailed on that position. I like the fundamentals, but the chart just looks like a train wreck. So unfortunately, I just booked the loss and walked away. I bought this W here thinking A, B, C, Ds. We were looking smart, then looking stupid, then looking smart. Then you better act like a professional, Brian, and get into capital preservation mode on the break of these lows. And so
recording stopped.
Good timing for the recording to stop. Hey, DBG, I didn't know you were here. Yeah, good to see you. Thank you for best wishes for Lily. In the near term, if I was thinking targets, I would be going A to B and C to D. And I would be looking for this gap to be filled in here. So I think that's what's happening right now. And frankly speaking, I set up PayPal to basically take care of my business in January. I'm absolutely disgusted by these people. So I couldn't believe the percentage that PayPal actually takes on every transaction. It's fucking criminal. I'm actually surprised Mr. Allen there and his PayPal mafia aren't in the temple trying to exchange money for religious people coming to pay their taxes. It's exactly the same business model, and frankly speaking, it's criminal. Frankly speaking, it's a disgusting commentary on this species, but you all know what a fan I am of Alan, so it is what it is. I don't have any interest in this whatsoever here right now, and I find it laughable that people actually can justify investing in Alan or that Palantir at these fundamental valuations. I mean, it's comical. So that's my commentary there. Okay, everybody, it is time for me to go. So wish me luck on the road with Lily. Somehow, not quite sure how I did it. I talked for 2 hours. Maybe you could maybe put a comment and see if we can overwhelm these stupid bots about whether you felt like you got value out of this video here today. I'd appreciate it a lot. And of course, wish us the best of luck battling on the roads with jug dishes of Canada nowadays. All right. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Try not to take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job is? The only left Brian to say to you good people is bye for now.